Welcome to The Read Along,
a mini book club for your ears.
I'm your host, Scott.
I'm your other host, Anita.
And join us on a journey through a good book,
one chapter at a time.
Do you like talking about movies? Do you like talking about mediocre movies? Do you like talking about how you could have fixed mediocre movies? Well, I certainly do, and you can listen to me, Scott C. Bourgeois, along with my co-hosts Greg Beaver and Liam Creswick, as we give our notes, and I have some notes. You can follow it now on your podcatcher of choice, or support it by visiting patreon.com/IHaveSomeNotes. So among my many hats, I am a Cub Scout leader.
Yeah.
For the pack that my son belongs to. And this past weekend, we went to an annual archery event.
A to-do, if you will.
Yeah. About 40 minutes away from where we live, 20 minutes out of town. Out in this beautiful wilderness area where the local scouts maintain a camp. And part of the day, in addition to just doing some archery, involved like a nature hike. And it was lovely. It was a beautiful weekend. The weather was perfect. Trees weren't in full bloom yet because it's still a little early in the season, but it was still very nice where we were. So nice, in fact, that our son remarked to me at one point that the walk was so beautiful it was making him appreciate his life. Which was like, oh, that's nice.
Every so often, he comes out with just such gems.
A little bit of poetry.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it was a lovely walk.
Did you appreciate your life?
I think I might have.
That's great.
Yeah. That's what I was up to this weekend.
I was at home doing not that.
Yeah. Also, was a little sore the next day from all of the walking. There was quite a lot of hiking.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
kids,
if I remember correctly, like you guys were gone most of the day.
Yeah, and the kids didn't complain all that much, which is, if anything, just proof that it was quite nice.
Oh, beautiful day.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
A little bit of a weekend adventure, at least on my part. Less so on your part.
I was happy to not have a weekend chock full of scheduled events.
It must be nice.
It was.
Because those tend to be my weekends lately.
I know.
So, at any rate, despite that, we still, of course, managed to get the book reading in.
Absolutely.
But before we get into our next chapter, let's do a brief recap of our previous chapter, chapter 14, in which Danny has several bad conversations in a row.
That is a very good way of putting it.
Yeah. She shows up at the house, at the Rich house, to rescue Elliot from the ex-wives and from Emma. She does extricate him after having an off-putting conversation with Rose, which leads to an off-putting conversation with Elliot, which leads to an off-putting conversation with the guard at the Fortress of Art, and then it gets capped off with her finding Brad talking to Archer in the fortress.
Because the hits just keep on coming.
Yeah, and that leads us to chapter 15 of The Frame-Up by Gwenda Bond.
So this is the weirdest gallery tour I have ever witnessed.
I'm sure there's weirder ones.
Probably.
Yeah.
But not that I've seen. This one is just awkward all the way around.
Well, it starts off with Brad being surprised to see Danny and Elliot there. He wasn't expecting to see Danny that day at all and was under the impression Elliot was done with what work he was doing there.
Yeah, and had gone.
And Danny's just like, no, we're just checking in. Also, who is this?
Also, hello?
Yeah. Well, actually, she doesn't say that because, of course, Archer gave a recommendation for Danny to get hired by Brad.
Yeah. It wasn't so much a who is this as a what are you doing here?
Yeah, and Archer is just like, oh, just checking in, seeing how things are, making sure that my recommendation of you was not ill-placed, and apparently it has not been. I was just on my way. Danny isn't letting him off the hook that easy. She still wants answers out of him. She wants to try to put him on the back foot for once.
Yeah.
So she kind of tries to goad him into giving up a little more information about how he knows Brad and what is he really doing there. He doesn't really bite. He throws her a bone a little bit, but he's too shrewd, too canny to really fall into whatever trap Danny thinks she's laying. He even gives her a look at one point like, I know what you're doing, and I don't approve of it, but fine, let's play.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know that she's trying to, like, play him so much as she's just sort of goading him a little.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I think she's just trying to, like, get under his skin.
kinda, yeah.
I don't know if it works or not,
I
though.
don't think it particularly does. He seems more amused than angry. Elliot is also very surprised.
And rightly so.
Danny reads his reaction as Elliot definitely hasn't met Archer before and is very surprised to see him in the flesh.
Yeah.
And Elliot actually kind of backs her up on her goading him a little bit here.
Well, he's on Danny's side,
Oh yeah.
right? Even if they have weird somethings between them.
This is also when the ex-wives and Emma and Rose all crash the party, like riding in on a golf cart.
This next part is bonkers to me.
Well, Emma decided that she wanted to go and see what Danny and Elliot were doing at the fortress
Yes.
because Danny's her new favorite person, because Danny did some cool art.
Yeah.
And the ex-wives used that as an excuse to go and catch up with Elliot some more.
I think so.
And Rose got roped into taking them there.
Because she's their handler, kind of, now. It's
Yeah.
weird.
So they end up all like crashing the party at that point. And seeing as the ex-wives haven't really had a chance to see much of the fortress yet, other than the other day when it was first opened, and Emma's excited to see what's going on and wants Danny to kind of give her a tour, Danny's like, well, why don't we all go to Archer? And
And he's like,
he does give, again, he gives up a little scrap because
well,
Danny's...
he mentioned that there's a piece that he likes.
Yeah, well,
right, which is why he's there.
well, no, not specifically.
Well, not specifically and not entirely. But
Because he's
yes.
going to be conveniently far away at the time of the auction.
Yes.
So that he can reliably and deniably state that he was nowhere near where a bunch of crime was about to take place. But
That
he does
tracks.
admit there is one piece that he's interested in, and Danny half expects that he's going to lead them to his portrait.
Mm-hmm.
The portrait that everybody rightly points out looks weirdly like him. Such a strange coincidence.
Crazy coincidence.
He certainly is just a strange
Coincidence, I'm sure. And everyone's like, it's not, but okay.
But he doesn't lead her to his portrait. He leads her
To the Rothko,
to the Rothko.
the one that Brenner's looking at.
The one that Brenner told her about just earlier that day. What another interesting coincidence.
Yes.
Archer makes mention of the fact that this is just because it's such an exquisite and expensive piece, likely to earn well over $100 million, which makes everybody see dollar signs in their eyes.
At least the ex-wives.
But Danny's maybe rightly wondering what Archer's game is here. Like, she legitimately wonders, is he Brenner's patron? Is he running two separate schemes at the same time here?
Well, if that's the case, he might as well be running three separate schemes because the evil twins are in there as well.
He might be.
How
is
many
the
art
thing.
thieves did he hire if that's the case?
If getting his hands on, in particular, that portrait of him is that important, he might have hired 3 teams to do it.
Maybe.
Or again, it's very possible that he hired the evil twins to steal the portrait, and Danny's there as the fall guy, because again, the book is called The Frame Up.
I know. Here's the thing. This could be crazy coincidence. There might be something to the Rothko that we don't understand.
We also kind of glazed over it, but he does only say that he knows Brad through his dad, William.
Yes.
And Brad is like, I don't even remember when we were introduced. I don't care to remember when we were introduced.
I got the impression that Brad does not care that much for Archer. The same way that Danny and Elliot don't care that much for Archer. Someone they would just rather not have around.
But someone who's just around like a bad penny.
Yeah.
You can't really get rid of.
Yeah, you just sort of accept that he exists and you'd rather not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Archer finally takes his leave, and Danny then begins kind of giving them a sort of tour.
Sort of like an amble while they chat
Yeah.
through the various galleries.
Elliot is the one who actually starts giving Emma more of a tour. Danny's a little surprised by this because, again, her prior memory of Elliot is that he doesn't really like kids, that he's kind of off-put by kids. But here he is being very chummy with Emma. And on the one hand, it could be that he's just putting it on because he's running a con.
It's true.
But it's also entirely possible that in the ensuing years, he's just gotten a better rapport with kids.
Yeah, maybe.
Or it could just be that Emma's very likable and precocious.
It could also be that. I don't know.
Rose did use some makeup remover on his face earlier. in
Yeah,
the
she
chapter
shows
as
up
well.
and like wipes his face down.
Brad actually is like, is that my daughter's work?
Yes. She's got like a bratty streak in her,
A little bit.
and I think it's it seems like a happy mix between a child who is still learning good manners,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because she's roughly our son's age.
Yeah,
give or take,
I want to
right?
say she's somewhere between 7 and 9. I
Yeah.
don't remember off the top.
I don't
of my
remember if the book gives a specific age, but that's the range I get.
Yeah.
Right? Which means manners aren't entirely there yet. Also, I'm pretty sure the only person who ever says no to her is her father.
Maybe her grandma.
Maybe.
Diana seems like she might also put her foot down from time to time.
In as much as a grandma would.
Yeah.
You know? Which is less. So I think she's got this just little mischievous bratty streak in her, and I can't help but wonder if that's going to come to play somehow.
Well,
Like if Emma's going to accidentally muck something up,
she legitimately at one point in this chapter while they're looking at the Rothko,
goes to touch it.
yeah, and
Like Danny
Danny-
physically touches her on the shoulders like careful.
and she gets the instant impression that was maybe a mistake because this is a girl who probably doesn't get no told to her all that often. And Elliot kind of swoops in and is like, "Oh, I just put an alarm on this.
Yeah.
If you were to touch it, it would send all the guards running." And she gets a little glint in her eye, like that sounds like it might be fun.
Like, yeah, challenge accepted. I'm going to touch it.
But then events proceed, and it
And
does
then
not happen.
Yeah, and then it doesn't happen, which makes me go, oh, is she going to do something?
She could.
Like, is Emma just going to wreak havoc by accident?
She could be a monkey wrench and stuff that's going on.
You never know.
Hard to say. The tour is kind of short-ish, actually, because Danny kind of leads them directly to the Archer portrait.
Well, because, again, to get under Archer's skin as he's leaving, she's like, there's a picture here that looks just like him. Come on, I'll show you.
Yeah.
And even though he has taken his leave already, she is confident he has heard them.
Yeah.
But now she has to go through with that threat/bluff. I'm not sure what it is.
Brad actually gives her a weird look after that. Like, he gives her a little frown.
Yeah,
Like, what are you playing at?
Rightly so. Why
Yeah.
did she do that?
But she does lead them to the Archer portrait, and this is where Beverly tells her ghost story.
And things get weird.
And things get weird. So, Beverly, the crone,
yes.
the eldest of the ex-wives,
Eldest of the wives, yes.
reveals that years ago, she had a little tryst with one of the guards at the fortress.
Friendly, as she put it.
Yeah, and used that as a way to kind of leverage herself in one night so that she could sneak in and see what William was up to.
Yeah.
And the guard slipped her in, and she made her way to the room with the Archer portrait, which is where he was sitting, arguing with this portrait. And it was super creepy and weird.
Yeah, she said he was talking to it, making, like, and she got really quiet. She's like, he was, like, demanding something of it.
The other ex-wives are like, oh, that sounds like something he would do. He was weird. And then she, has an attack.
Yeah.
As though something is whispering in her ears or
Yeah.
saying something to
She
her.
can hear something that no one else can hear. And it is loud.
Yeah.
Because she, fetal positions, covers her ears and just screaming, no, over and over
Make
again.
it stop, yeah.
Yeah, you guys can't hear this? This is awful. No, make it stop.
And Danny gets the sense that the portrait is doing something.
Well, Danny feels weird as
Yeah.
soon as she gets in the room. Somehow being in the presence of Archer's portrait is so much weirder and harder and awfuler. Is that a word? Awfuler? Than being in the presence of Archer.
Yeah.
What is up with this picture?
It is, as you say, it is almost worse. It's like all of the things that skeeves her out about Archer are amplified
Yeah.
in the presence of
It's so much worse
the
to
portrait.
be in presence of the painting than the actual person.
Well, and she even mentions that being in the presence of the portrait in this moment also makes her feel like she's in the presence of the reproduction in her studio.
Right?
And I can't help but wonder if that's an element of her power drawing some of that very real magical energy out of the portrait into the reproduction, into the perfect copy.
Yeah.
That there is an inherent danger to her making a perfect copy of this dangerous painting.
I don't think she's wrong to feel that way. I don't think she's making it up. I
No.
think what she's doing is actually very dangerous.
And in a way that she doesn't realize.
Yes.
Yeah. There is a real risk to her having made this reproduction,
Yeah.
to finishing this
Yeah,
reproduction.
yeah, for sure.
Elliot gets on the phone, starts calling 911. Diana and Brad and Danny all rush in to help Beverly up and get her out of the building.
Yeah,
And-
they all behave like good people should in an emergency. This woman, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
She needs help. Let's get her out of here.
And that's what they do. And that's basically where the chapter ends.
Yeah.
So
Creepy.
creepy.
Chapter ends creepy.
The chapter ends creepy.
Yeah. My notes on this chapter are just a series of questions. just more questions, and more questions. I've asked most of them, but there is one little detail that has stuck out to me, and I just want to put it out there. The book mentions Archer's walking stick and how he always seems to use it to, like, accentuate or gesture or threaten, but never to walk.
Yeah, it's more of an affectation than an actual aid.
Yeah. So it's not a walking stick. What is it? The first thing I thought was, is it like a wizard's staff akin to like Gandalf and his staff? Like,
could be. I mean, we're dealing with a magical world.
Right? So I don't know. Just because it was pointed out, I wonder if it means something.
He presents himself and dresses in like an almost antique style. And so it kind of reads to me that the walking stick is just kind of like part of that affectation.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's presenting himself as very gentlemanly.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely not a literal crutch. It is absolutely just something that he carries as an accessory.
Yeah. I just wonder how important that accessory is.
Hard to say. He is holding it in the portrait too, so.
Right?
Yep.
Just saying. So, based on this chapter and the bits of information we have been fed, I have two theories. Theory one, Hackworth has somehow trapped Archer, bound him somehow to that portrait, and then the fortress around it was built as like the magical chains holding Archer captive. It's why they're arranged the way they are, so the magic flows strongest to hold him and make him do Hackworth's bidding.
The only hole that I can really poke in that is that he obtained the portrait of Archer first. And if the fortress was meant as a way to hold that portrait somehow or hold its energies, you'd think that that would have been constructed first. You'd build the prison before you capture your prisoner.
That's fair.
As opposed to have a prisoner and then build a prison around them.
Right.
Again, that's the only hole I can see in that theory.
I have other holes. I'm not saying it's a soundproof theory. Like, we know Archer admitted to sitting for that portrait in the first place.
It's true. Yep.
One does not voluntarily sit to have one's custom cage built.
It's true.
Right? So that might not be it. Theory number two. So Archer was using Hackworth's greed for his own nefarious purposes. Right? Sort of like a devil's bargain.
I feel like that's more likely the case.
Right? Like, I will make you rich and powerful if you do the following things for me. Going back to the fortress being a magical battery, funneling all of this art magic towards Archer's portrait, which he is still connected to and can use somehow. Right? And then maybe the deal went sour?
The only hole I can see in that is if the fortress is such an incredible magical battery and is fueling Archer, why would Archer be okay with the fortress being broken up?
Maybe he's not. I don't know. The problem is, when the answer is a wizard did it, I can make up out of my imagination anything and just justify it as magic.
It's true.
Especially if I don't know all the rules of magic in this world.
Well, maybe we'll find out some answers as we move into the next chapter.
Yes.
Which is chapter 16. You'll want to read up on that in time for next week. In the meantime, of course, as always, you can give us a little rating and a review on your podcatcher of choice.
Because we always appreciate those.
We also appreciate chatting with you via social media.
Oh, absolutely. Reach out however you like. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Goodreads. We are at The Read Along on most of those.
You can also send us an email.
Yes, please. You can reach us at thereadalong@gmail.com.
And with that said, as always, we love you very much, and we'll see you next time.
For more art heisting, yay!
Thank you for joining us on The Read Along with your hosts, Anita and Scott Bourgeois. All Read Along music is by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Cover art is by Aaron Beaver. Be sure to join us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Read Along, and check out our group on Goodreads.com.